Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is an episode for the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York, the Guru venue. Today, we have a scene where one of our Theurges in the Sept of the Green is attempting to create a Talon that has never been seen before, something of their own mind, their own creativity. Sam Sullivan has decided to do so in the presence of the Right Master, Chases the Storm. He's sitting patiently, waiting for Sam to detail what he has done to get to this point and what he plans to do.
Sam will give Chases a polite smile, and he'll say, Honored Elder, you set upon me a task, one that you put great measure and thought into, and I feel only can be responded to with a measure of effort. I have worked very hard on your challenge, and I think I have come up with something that you will more than enjoy. I think you will find it quite useful to those in the nation and our people. I have gathered for the spirits. He'll kind of pick up a basket, or it's actually a bowl, a silver bowl, and it has in it these very small, kind of thin clay little jars about that small, almost kind of like little bombs, although that's not quite it, with corks in them sealed by wax. I have gathered very powerful reagents, blood, earth, inks taken from fires that were burned in the Karen Heart, pulled together these items. And now, for you, the final step. I will summon the spirits, and if they are willing to do our bidding, my bidding, then I will present you with the item for your challenge. So by your leave as Right Master of the Sept, may I please perform these two rites to finish your challenge.
Chases the Storm, who has been lying down in lupus, uncrosses his paw and looks up. His ears flick for a moment. Please, continue.
He nods, and he goes over to a place that he's prepared. The ground he's cleared of every debris, every loose little stone. He kind of carefully arranged in little cairns around every loose little leaf. He just very carefully poured over the area where he's performing the ritual. He laid out a circle.
Just 1 second. I apologize. Can you share the live link in the chat really quick? Thank you.
Sure. So I'm not that great at live links, so I'll try. There you go. He's made a circle around the he brought the items in through the Umbra, like through the Cairn Herd. And he's made a circle of red brick dust, copper filings, which he got from work in a metal shop, which attracts spiritual energies and spiritual matters. The red brick dust is to prevent negative energies from escaping, and a very light dusting of salt, which is to protect himself during the ritual from negative energies.
Okay.
And he basically sits down with the bowl. He sits down cross-legged with the bowl at his feet, like kind of where his feet are. And Chases will see him from his coat pocket produce 2 steel bands. And he basically kind of puts them between his hands. And he begins to, in that very, very deep, rumbly voice that has given him his Garu name, he begins to chant and tone, and in German, actually, the language he's most used to in dealing with matters of the Garu nation, he begins a very light, what starts off a very light call, almost rocking very softly. And there's really no way to describe it in length, but as he's allowing his voice to almost drop deeper and deeper and stronger and letting it build, as the hour mark hits, he'll take one of the bands and he'll clasp it onto his left wrist, beginning with the left significantly because that is the hand of receiving energy and of basically the beginning, essentially. He is also left-handed, so he began with his left hand. As he snaps it and binds it, thinking of binding and oppression and the stripping away of one's power, he begins to think of all the times in his life where he felt powerless and where he felt as though he was suffering from a great loss. When he, as a child, when his father was first sent away, when he could remember overseas how much he missed his father and how much his mother tried to hide the crying from him, but she couldn't. And, you know, she was afraid he wouldn't come back, how powerless he felt then. He tries to think of times when he was first taken by the Garu nation and how alone he felt and how powerless he felt among all these great men of legend, starting with Yuri Konietzko himself and going down into the warder of the Sept of the Night Sky, the Beta, all of these different people. He just felt like a child all over again, even though he was a teenager, you know? Then it goes into when his husband died and when he suffered that loss and how powerless he felt after that and how it hurt so badly he had to leave the very country he loved to get away from the memories, and how that still holds power over him and makes him feel powerless. And just as he's allowing these feelings to wash over him, these feelings of again, oppression, binding, of just this overwhelming sense of being stripped away from anything that could give him might or of anything that could give him resolve or strength, he, as he's pushing into the second hour, he clips the second band onto his other wrist, almost setting it too tight to where it's kind of biting into the bones of his wrist. And he tightens that one using the little tool, rocking gently, sweating by this point, sweat pouring down his face. His voice by this point is almost inaudible. If Chases is still in Lupus, he can probably hear it, but to everybody else, it's almost as though a storm is moving into the Sept. So deep and so sonorous that it's just rippling in waves off of him. And finally, he pulls the energy forward into himself and allows it all to materialize into almost a visual heat wave of his emotion as he draws his gnosis forward to offer this spirit, spitting his gnosis. He's going to throw 2 points into it. He basically just releases the might of the right out. So there you go.
Okay. Make your roll for summoning. Okay. You are currently at a difficulty 3.
And yes, I am going to spend a willpower point so that I don't slap myself in the face with botch. Because botches can be fatal.
Yes. You may either make a Gnosis roll or a Wisp ritual roll. Whichever gives you more dice.
Yeah, that's rich rituals for me. So beautiful. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes.
Okay. No. You begin to hear a clinking of chains scraping over one another. What seems to be knocking against one another. As from outside the shadows of the sept comes something that looks like this as it slithers on the ground, comes closer to you, comes closer to the circle. And who are you? It says.
I am. He says softly, I am. His voice is thunder, visage of lightning. Son of Grandfather Thunder.
Son of Grandfather Thunder. It has been many years since I spoke to one of you. What can I do for you?
I have a great purpose for you, and I have a way for you to serve Gaia and Grandfather, and in doing so, fall exactly in line with your path. I'm gonna give him a gentle smile. I wish for you, he'll take up one of the talons, and he'll hold it forward in his palm. There's a few of them. He made quite a bit because he didn't know how many he would be able to make, essentially. Always over than under better. So he holds one of them in his palm to show him. I wish for you to find home in these.
And just as a reiteration, what is in the clay jars?
His father's blood, but dried. And a couple of like other things like herbs and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's what you said he could have the blood of, right? Yeah.
All right. So you wish a spirit of binding to be bound.
I didn't think it would inconvenience you that much. He'll say softly, like in almost kind of a caring tone.
And what aim do you wish this process to have?
He's trying to speak low enough that Chases, or if Chases is being polite enough not to listen so he doesn't hear what the talent is, then he'll speak in a normal tone. He'll say, I want for you to trap the spiritual and supernatural essence of beings. When we were in the Umbra, not too long ago, there was a very, very, very powerful creature, but Garu, no less. And I realized that most of what made the bulk of his power was what had been given to him. His supernatural side, or he just immortal. he would not be as potent. And there are many that we face that were you to strip away their powers if they were just mortals, it would be devastating, if only for a short time. And in our nation itself, there are times when, for instance, we lose our head and fall to the frenzy. If you could strip someone of their potency then, leave them immortal, to save many lives. But what I want you to do is to take that power, that soul, that whatever it is that fuels the being, trap it, bind it for a time.
Spirit moves its head back and forth for a little while. I cannot do this, but I can do something similar.
Well, please share. What can you do?
What I can do is I can restrict. I can make someone's supernatural side more difficult to access.
He smiles softly, thinking,
But what are you willing to do for me?
he smiles.
The snake will come up closer to you and he will sniff a copper wire tongue coming out to flick along your wrists where you have put the bonds, first at the left wrist, then at the right wrist. You wear bonds. Why?
I put them on to make you feel more comfortable, to entice you.
For you to seek to restrict others, you must restrict yourself first.
All right, then I have an idea.
Hmm?
I have an idea. I was going to marry. I was planning on eloping with someone. It is something I seek greatly. I was married once and I miss it. If you do this for me, I will not bind myself this way. Ever. I may, if you don't mind, seek companionship, but I will not tie myself in marriage. I will give up what I want. That's genuine. He actually does want to be married. So he's basically offering to, like, forever give up marriage.
Marriage is a bond.
It is. Would you prefer that I married? I was planning on it anyway, but if you like, I will vow that I will always try to strengthen my bond to him, and I will not divorce. If something should happen, that I will work on it and try to strengthen our bond instead of taking the easy way out. Would you prefer that?
No. You wear bonds.
Oh, do you want me to keep these on? He'll shake his wrist.
For the next moon, while you are within the boundaries of your sept, and solely with those of your kind, you will bind your arms.
He'll reach into his coat pocket and he'll pull the chain out that goes between them and he'll clip them on. They give him about an arm's length. Like if you were holding your arms out, they give him about that much slack. So enough that he can do minor things, but he can't spread his arms out very far.
So you can't spread your arms out completely.
Yeah, he can't throw his arms wide. Like if you were just to hold your arms out, like at shoulder length, the chain would kind of a little bit between them. So he could spread them about maybe like that. Like you can't see, but about like that far.
Okay. The spirit will nod. This I will do.
Out of came.
Proceed with binding.
All right. He'll turn back inwards and thinking, and he'll pick up the chain between them, and almost as though he's touching a rosary or like touching prayer beads. He begins to go down the links again, thinking of bondage and of the fetish and restricting his enemies, and he begins to perform the rite of binding. This one is not. It's not that it's not as elaborate. It's a simpler rite, and it doesn't take as long. So, obviously, it's not quite as theatrical or majestic as his last one was.
Mm-hmm.
But he does put his whole heart into it. Whenever he performs a rite, and that's something that Chase has noticed, whenever he performs a rite, everything of him goes into it. All of his concentration, all of his focus. He is 100% devoted to paying homage to spirits and to the task at his hand. It doesn't seem as though anything distracts him when he does it.
Roll me charisma perform.
I don't have performance. Unfortunately. I'll take it next time.
Expression.
Expression? That I got. My charisma is arrow confidence.
I'll give it to you.
Okay, and that is a social roll, so that'll have difficulty. The negative difficulty, won't it? Oh, sweet. Because if it does, that's the last successes. That's 1, 2. Okay. If it counts, then all of those are successes. Plus 1 for the 10. If it doesn't, then it's 4 successes, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. If not, then it's 7 successes.
Sure. 7 successes.
So 4 or 7. Take your pick.
We'll give you 7 successes for this. Because, yeah, it is a social.
Yeah, he is throwing himself into it. He's really pushing.
Okay. So we are going to proceed with the rite of binding.
Yes.
You have to spend a minimum number of gnosis points. Minimum 1.
Yep.
How many are you spending?
All I have left.
Hmm?
That's all I have left is one.
You're spending
Did I
one.
spend one or two the last scene?
Two.
Okay, so yes, I have one left.
Okay. You spend one. And so
I can't remember if it helps when the spirit comes and they're friendly. Because he did get 6 successes on the rite of summoning.
this is versus their adjusted gnosis. Okay.
Oh, he gave a gnosis. Nice. Okay, so okay, fine.
I need you to make. I need you to roll me willpower difficulty 5.
Willpower. Okay. So I'm going to spend a point of willpower again, so we don't botch on our faces. Because this will hurt if I botch.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a botch. Not at all. That would be 3 successes with the willpower I have spent.
Okay. 3 successes with the willpower. Okay.
I only needed 1. 2. Technically 2. I only needed 1. I have 3. Right?
Okay. So this is what happens. You see the chain snake essence sort of constrict and bind together, and it moves toward the clay pots. Now, as it right before it hits the clay pots, you see the wax begin to melt. Okay.
Mhm.
As the wax melts, the corks all pop out and up.
Okay.
The dried blood and the herbs start to flow out of the clay pots. You notice where it was once dry, it is now liquid.
Okay.
And they come together in a circle, and they are joined by the spirit's essence. And it rains blood into the silver bowl. But it's thicker than normal. It starts to move, it starts to shrink, and it shrinks down, and it begins to shine, and it begins to crystallize. And what you have here, it starts to form an arrowhead. A red crystal arrowhead.
He'll pick it up. Kind of chew his lip. Figure out if the talent sensor made itself. So essentially, it's a talon that's one talon but has 3 uses.
Nope. Mechanically, this is how it's going to work.
Okay.
Okay. What you have is an arrowhead that you can attach to an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
Once you attach and use that arrowhead, the target that you use it on, any powers that it has, say any gifts it tries to use that require a roll to activate, have to be made at a +2 difficulty after they are hit for the rest of the scene.
Okay.
So You're holding the arrowhead. The umbral energies seem to dissipate. And as they dissipate, you notice that you are currently out of gnosis. But you are within the heart of the sept. So instead of being violently shunted out of the umbra,
That's why we did it here.
the umbra fades into the Tellurian realm. You feel you have a headache, but nothing that's too bad. You notice Chases is sitting there. What have you made, boy?
He'll pick the arrowhead up and he'll hold it in the palm of his hands and whisper thanks, like thank yous to the spirit. And then he'll hold it out to Chases.
He'll shift up and he'll take the arrowhead between a thumb and his middle finger, and it's a fairly large arrowhead. It's something about that size. Now look at it. And you see him close his eyes as he pushes down his middle finger down onto the tip of the arrowhead. You notice some of his own blood begin to drip a little bit. You can roll intelligence, spirit lore if you want.
Did I buy spirit lore last round? I think I did. No, I didn't. You got 3 successes.
Yep. Someone is in deep conversation with the spirit inside of that tape.
Hey, hey.
He drops it into his palm and closes his fingers around it. So, this is the first contribution to this competition, and I like it.
He looks disappointed. He looks disappointed.
What is wrong?
You didn't love it.
What's wrong, boy?
He smiles very softly. Yeah, he smiles very softly and he says, you didn't love it. He actually seems disappointed that he didn't wow you beyond reason. Not like outwardly disappointed, like, oh, but just kind of like, oh.
Chases his storm.
Keep trying harder.
Chases his storm will look at you. You did well, Yoff. You are young. You have still much to learn, much to do. If this, and he'll hold the arrowhead out, is what you create at such a young age, I would like to see what you create when you are mine.
I'll nod.
Well, Yoff, and I like this.
I'll smile softly.
Now, be gone with you.
He looks as though he had a question for him, but because he said be gone with you, he'll leave.
You can ask your question later.
Yeah.
All right. So, I think that is the end of our scene. We thank you players for playing, and we thank you watchers for watching. This has been a scene for the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York, the Garou venue. Please have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night.